If you enjoy Astronomy FM radio, please let us know with a small donation. We do rely on your support, and it's true. Every little bit counts.
AFM.
You're listening to AFM radio on astronomy.fm, around the world and beyond.
Coming up next, it's time for an AFM radio original program, Space Pirate Radio, brought to you by the voice of astronomy, matey.
It's Space Pirate Radio time here on astronomy.fm. It is another Wednesday evening. This one is July the 17th, 2019, 9 o'clock in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America. Universal time would put us at 1 o'clock in the morning, Thursday morning, July the 18th. And that means we're live for the next hour, and of course we have our chat room open for everybody to come on board and be part of the crew. Just go to the homepage, astronomy.fm, and you can see where you can get into the chat room there. It's real easy. Glad to have everybody that's in here so far. We've got me and you, Aqua for you, Glenn, Black Projects, Doug at Northern Cross Observatory, and Plaid Joan. Yes, you don't have to use your real name, but I appreciate it. Something I can pronounce. All right, so what's new?
Well, I'm back from the European summertime.
Oh, nice. Did you do some astronomical touristy things?
We didn't really do astronomical touristy things, but there were a couple of nice surprises. One of them was encountering a mural commemorating Christian Huygens in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam.
Nice.
Which we did not know was there, and that was a neat thing to see.
Mm-hmm.
And the other was seeing the stars over Berlin, which you would think Berlin being a major capital city of one of the biggest countries in Europe might have light polluted skies like, say, any American capital city of any random state. And actually, it was a beautiful dark sky. We could see easily down to fourth magnitude stars. Put my suburb of Detroit to complete shame.
Definitely. So did it look like there was like less light shining up, like they were?
Totally. Yeah, totally. It was just. And when we talk to locals, they're like, "Oh yeah, but it's so light polluted." It's like, you guys have no idea what we deal with.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Where was that again? Where?
Berlin.
Berlin. Okay.
Berlin, right in the kind of ceremonial civic center by the big civic buildings, near to the Holocaust Memorial, and which is very moving, especially at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing we saw that was really cool was on the flight out. When we travel transatlantic now, thanks to that tip that our buddy Stephen Ramsden gave us some years back, we try to sit on the left side of the plane headed across the Atlantic, because then if there is a solar outburst, well, you might see something.
Uh-huh.
Given the timing of our flight and the fact that it's summer and the fact that the sun is not really doing much, there was no northern lights to speak of, but we did get to see the newest new moon we have ever seen.
Ah, cool.
Tiny sliver of a crescent. Yeah.
How many hours old do you know?
Not less than 24 hours.
Oh wow.
I think. Yeah. Yeah. Just the most wispy little bit of moon right at the horizon from a plane. So that was fun. But I think that was about the extent of the astronomy that we did, other than trying to get into the Großplanetarium in Berlin, the Zeiss Großplanetarium.
Ah, nice.
So we wanted to see a planetarium show that uses their actual Zeiss projector, because they have two. They have a modern digital projector, and they have a fairly modern post-1980s optical projector.
Okay.
And they do some dual language shows, but we weren't able to get the timing quite right to see the show, but we did see the building, which is very neat. And we got to see their previous optical projector, which they have in the hallway, so you can admire it. So that's always a neat thing to see, one of those big beasts.
Uh-huh. They are pretty tall too.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of astronomy, and we wanted to really see the Mercator Museum.
Okay. Oh yes.
Which is between Ghent and Antwerp, which are two of the cities we visited. So we went straight through the city of Sint-Niklaas, which is where it's located, but we just did not have time to go check it out. Maps, of course, being kind of relevant to astronomy.
Uh-huh. I like astronomy tourism to go with historical tourism, especially.
Well, one thing that I wanted to find is the Berlin Observatory, which the reason I wanted to find it was that is where the planet Neptune was verified.
Ah,
So
okay.
Neptune was famously calculated independently in two different countries by two different mathematicians, John Couch Adams in the UK and Urbain Le Verrier in France.
Mm-hmm.
And Adams really wasn't persistent enough about getting other people to verify his data and go looking for the thing, but Le Verrier, who was quite the persistent man, sent his stuff to Johann Galle at the Berlin Observatory, and lo and behold, Galle found Neptune basically right where Le Verrier's calculation said it would be. So this would be a really amazing thing to see, right? The Berlin Observatory, where Neptune was discovered.
Uh-huh.
It got torn down 100 years ago. So
Ah.
there was nothing to see. Yeah, so I gave that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see any major lenses laying around on the ground or anything like that.
No. It's long gone.
Okay, and built over and things like that.
Yeah. It got knocked down during early 20th century urban renewal, I guess.
Ah. Oh well. Nothing like
Oh well.
preserving
That,
history
yeah.
sometimes, sort of.
Sometimes you can't save everything, but
Yeah, indeed. So I guess we should. Well, we still got 3 days for the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 landing on the moon. So let's do that first, and then get on to some regular astronomy stuff.
all right.
All right, go right ahead. You're more into the space stuff, space
Yeah,
rocket.
but Marty, where were you that day?
Where was I? I was home watching it on television.
Cool. You remember anything from the broadcast?
I kind of do. I seem to basically remember the whole broadcast of the other. Um, they're on the moon. Popped the door, and Neil Armstrong came down the ladder, and he said his little speech, even though he was like on the landing pad, and then after that is one small step for man. Then he says, "Okay, I'm stepping on the surface now, and the surface is whatever kind of texture it is, like dusty,
Powdery.
but
Yeah.
impression, yeah, boot
Very
impression."
fine powder. Yeah.
And it kind of got technical talk, sort of about descriptive, I should say, about stuff like that. But I do kind of remember that. I kind of remember people outside looking at the moon. I don't remember if anybody had a telescope. Maybe somebody had a telescope. I kind of seem to remember something about that. People looking at the moon, just like, well, yeah, you can kind of do that, but it does. You're not going to really see anything. But just
absolutely nothing that they could have seen.
Yeah, just the thought that you're looking at the moon while there are people there 240,000 miles away. So yeah, I do kind of remember that, and kind of pretty much followed the whole mission. I don't know if it was then or it might have been before then, but I actually had a like a square metal lunchbox with a thermos in it, and it was all NASA rocket stuff.
Oh, that's cool. That is really cool.
Uh-huh. My mom sold it cheap in a garage sale.
Aww.
And I thought I might still have the thermos, but the lunchbox is gone. So it was kind of cool. It had like a rocket launch sequence around the thermos, so basically you can kind of start with it on the launch pad and rotate it, and it kind of get up higher and higher in the thermos. And I can't really remember what the lunchbox was like that. That must have been before the Apollo, I think it was. So it might have been, I know Mercury for sure, might have been some Gemini stuff.
Might have been Gemini.
I don't know if it had any Apollo mission on it stuff or not.
That's cool. I have some Apollo drinking glasses from the 1970s.
I've got a bunch of those
water
too.
glasses, yeah.
Yep.
They're actually selling them at the Neil Armstrong Museum down in his hometown of Wapakoneta.
Uh-huh.
But then they did not have any of the Apollo 11 ones when I was down there last month. They just had 12 and 13. Yeah. Which is cool. Those are good missions. But if you want an Apollo 11 glass, you're out of luck that day.
I think I've still got those packed away.
We have a few in the kitchen.
I need another display case for more of my astronomy stuff, so I'll have to work on getting one sometime.
So part of the reason I'm picking your brain about what you were doing that day is I wasn't born yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be born for another 11 years.
Ah. Yeah, I remember talking to a friend of mine. He's kind of was basically really into flying, and he's a professional airline pilot. And I was asking him about, the Apollo 11 thing. He says, I wasn't born yet. I was like, well, I know an airline pilot that wasn't even born, and he's not a young guy either. Wasn't even born to see early enough to see the Apollo moon landings.
But I was a space shuttle kid.
And you did let's see, space camp.
Oh yeah, yep. I just found all my space camp stuff, so I've got a whole little archive of it.
Oh, nice. Got the. Did you actually buy the clothing, or did they just lend it to you?
I don't remember. I was 10 years old, so I wasn't particularly concerned about the finances of it. But I can tell you at that time, and that was 1990, so it was 21 years after Apollo 11, and it already seemed like ancient history, which of course is rather a shock when you're looking back on things 50 years later, and you realize how much more time separates you from your 10-year-old self than separated your 10-year-old self from Apollo 11.
Yep.
And then you just want to go hide under a table for a while.
That was quite a long time ago, and as people are saying, we're kind of really due for another moon mission. 50 years is kind of a big enough span, and the newest generations have not experienced a moonwalk at all. So it's like, yeah, that means it's kind of due, I think. Well, it's been due for a long time.
It's been due for a long time.
But you were saying, well, once they did it, then it was actually, people lost interest in it after a while.
Well, right. I mean, there's a reason that, part of the reason that there is in the U.S. this bizarre, seemingly widespread belief that we faked the moon landing is a lot of people don't even realize we went there 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And we went in lunar orbit 9 times.
Wow. Including the 6 that landed, you mean?
Right. Yeah. So there were 3 missions that went to the moon but didn't land. 6 missions that went to the moon and landed. That's a lot of missions.
Apollo 8. That was the first orbit around the moon.
Yep.
Let's see. And then there was one that got close with the lander.
Apollo 10. So that was a full-scale dress rehearsal, everything but the actual landing and takeoff from the lunar surface.
Now I got. Then there's Apollo 13, of course.
Yeah, Apollo 13 was supposed to land but didn't, so that became the 3rd mission that went to the moon and never got there.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Never touched down.
Okay. So that's something, but we definitely have a lot more better space probes and images of the moon than there were available back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Well, yeah, we have the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter taking high-definition photos of the moon where you actually see where Neil Armstrong discarded his camera.
Wow.
Camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that image yet. That sounds pretty cool.
You will see it tomorrow if you show up at the Warren Astronomical Society, because I will be giving a talk that includes that photograph. I mean, it's marked on the map. You have to believe the analysis of that particular blip is the camera, but they've seen the wheelbarrow tracks of the later expeditions that brought wheelbarrows, dune buggies. I mean, yeah, we can see the moon in amazing detail. Yeah. These days, we would be able to do probably a play-by-play account of somebody up there in high def, which, we didn't even have color TV up there for the first landing.
That's right.
And then the color camera got fried on the second landing.
Yep. And then, well, the first moonwalk, the data got lost, or the signal got lost, or something. What was it? They had to go to a backup station. They
had to switch from, I believe, Goldstone, the main radio telescope, to Parkes in Australia. Mm-hmm. So it was, but Parkes was able to do a successful broadcast. But
they were kind of low res. They were kind of low res, if I remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure Goldstone would have been much. I mean, you're dealing with a whole different era of technology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's really amazing, though, is the high-res photos that they could take, because those look stunning even today. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure some of them have been digitally cleaned up a bit when they were digitized, but,
Yeah.
the high-res photos are stunning.
And then you've got the moon landing deniers. And
Yeah,
I just
well,
hate to, with all their hypotheses, I will say it properly, on why those pictures don't look real. The funniest one is there's no stars in the background. It's like, well, that's so easy to explain. Some of the shadows aren't all straight. Well, like, that's because the ground wasn't flat. That changes the directions of shadows and not drastically. And I can't remember what some of the other things
yeah,
too.
they're really not worth remembering. Again, a lot of these only work if one assumes that there was a single solitary moon landing and we never went back, which isn't true. And
Right.
once you assemble the evidence for every other one, the whole, Stanley Kubrick filmed it, and no. Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're here to celebrate the real Apollo 11, not talk about crackpots.
Mm-hmm. Got to mention them just a little bit. So.
Yeah, well, their greatest moment was when lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin punched one. So
I saw that. That was funny.
Hey, this will make you feel the passage of time. That was in 2002.
Wow.
It's been almost 20 years since he punched that guy. Yow.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say like the see the pictures of the Washington Monument
No, I did not.
in
Let's share
Washington
them.
D.C. Where is that picture? Oh, okay, let me get it. It's here somewhere. They actually Smithsonian lit it up, the Washington Monument, with an image of the Saturn V on the launch pad. And that's actually pretty cool. If I got that picture, anybody got that picture out there? I'm kind of scrolling here and I don't see it immediately, but I could kind of do a little chase on it. So, anybody got that picture out there for us? We'll check our chat room.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It actually is pretty cool. Kind of takes up the whole Washington Monument. I don't know if it's actually to scale, but it'd be pretty cool if it was like the exact scale on it.
Let's see. So the Washington Monument is 555 feet tall.
Could be.
Yes, 555. Ooh,
Okay.
here's a photograph. Yes, that's very cool. The Saturn V I thought it was 365. Am I remembering that correctly?
Sounds about right. Yep.
Yes, the projection mapping artwork will occupy 363 of the monument's 555 vertical feet, so it is indeed to scale.
All right, cool. It is pretty impressive images.
Yeah, that's neat. I am sorry to not see it.
That would be really cool to see. I don't know if they're going to have it for the whole time. I thought it was just 3 days, and I don't know if they're still going to have it up there.
It has been authorized by Congress through the 20th.
The 20th. So, okay.
Yeah.
So only got about
a couple more days.
Yeah, 2-3 more days,
basically until the
nights.
the actual anniversary of the landing.
Mm-hmm. I thought it'd be fun if they would actually launch it. Play a video on the side of the thing so it actually goes up and disappears above it. That would actually be pretty cool too.
That'd be cool. That'd be real cool.
So haven't been to any Air and Space museums in quite a long time. There used to be one in Jackson, Michigan. I don't think that's there anymore.
No, so that shut down in 2004,
okay.
And the collection went to Kalamazoo's Air Zoo, where my spouse Jonathan went earlier this year, and it was cool. We became members. I haven't had the chance to go there yet, but not everything is on display. So Jackson apparently was quite a neat museum, but it's been gone for a long time now, 15 years.
Okay. It was like a quarter of a geodesic dome, if I recall.
Yes. No, yeah, I'd seen it from the freeway, I want to say. Or I saw it going through town once, but we did not have time to stop, and sadly, never Never got in there because,
Go
again,
ahead.
not everything that was on display when it was operational can be seen right now,
Yeah.
which is always a shame.
And there's, I think there's one in Dayton, Ohio. Of course, in Washington, D.C., the Air and Space Museum. And then those are the only ones I can kind of recall.
Well,
Michigan
yeah.
Science Center has a capsule.
So if you want to do the full Apollo fun tour, so there is a extensive museum in Kansas, which I have not yet been to, that is fairly modern, that has a lot of stuff, including that's the one that resurrected the Gemini. No, that's the one that resurrected the Liberty Bell capsule. So it's called the Cosmosphere, and it's in Hutchinson, Kansas. So they've got stuff. We've got the Kalamazoo Air Zoo here in Michigan, plus the Michigan Science Center. There is the Neil Armstrong Museum in Wapakoneta, Ohio, as well as the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio.
That's Wright-Patterson?
Yes, Wright-Patterson. Chicago has the Adler Planetarium, which has got Jim Lovell of of Gemini 6 and Gemini 12 and Apollo 8 and Apollo 13. That's his stuff. And they've got some recently revamped displays for the 50th anniversary hoopla, which I got to see that last month. There's also Chicago Museum of Science and Industry has some things. So if you're in the Midwest, lower Midwest, check out Kansas. Upper Midwest, check out Chicago, Great Lakes area. If you are in New York City, there's the Intrepid Air and Space Museum. If you are in the West Coast, down south, you've got San Diego, where the Endeavour Space Shuttle is. Up north, there is the Boeing Museum of Flight. And if you really want to pay your respects to Apollo 11 specifically, the Columbia Command and Service Module that brought the astronauts to the moon and brought them back to Earth safely is on tour right now. So normally Columbia lives at the Smithsonian. She's not there right now. She's on tour.
I didn't know that.
She's been on tour for 2 years. And I got to see her at her first stop in Houston. And she is supposed to be, originally she was scheduled to be in Seattle for the latter part of the year. I'd heard a rumor that she was actually going to be in Cincinnati, so I need to pin that down right now so I can tell you the truth.
Oh, let me know when it's there.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's doable. Chicago's doable from where we're at here in Michigan.
Yeah, it's called Destination Moon. It's the Apollo, and it's not just Columbia. It is exhibits, artifacts. So if you want to look into Buzz Aldrin's lunar helmet and see yourself reflected in the visor, the way Neil Armstrong is reflected in the iconic picture of the two of them reflecting one another on the moon. If you want to look at their actual gloves, if you want to look at the images of the graffiti on the wall inside the capsule, you need to check out Destination Moon. And it should be at the Museum of Flight in Seattle, Washington right now, which is a great place to see anyway.
Okay, cool. And of course, Cape Canaveral.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Kennedy Space Center down in Florida.
Space Center Houston is a good place too, even when Columbia is not there, because they have the Apollo 17 stuff.
Okay.
And they also have a fair number of relics relating to Tom Stafford, who did some Apollo missions, and also the Apollo-Soyuz test project, which is having its own anniversary coming up shortly. And Skylab. If you are keen on Skylab, that is the place to visit. Okay.
Black Project saying you need to visit the UK if you want to see the Apollo 10.
And I missed that when I was there staying in South Kensington, just a short distance away last year, and I've been kicking myself. Because we went to see the Natural History Museum, and we did not go see Apollo 10. So yes, that is...
You didn't know it was there.
It just slipped our mind. We had so many things we were juggling.
Uh-huh. Can't hit them all, but, well, you can always go back.
You can always go back, yeah. So there is and it's possible that Columbia is not the only exhibit that is traveling right now, simply the most prominent one. So if you are keen to observe the Apollo 11th anniversary, check out your local community science museums, science education centers. There may well be something very cool in your town that is not normally there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So get out there and do some museum tours. I probably would not recommend, Cape Canaveral this Saturday, though.
I don't know what I would recommend this Saturday, particularly if one is crowd averse, because the Neil Armstrong Museum in Wapakoneta said that they were expecting 4,000 people.
Wow.
That's a factor of 10 more than they would normally get on a Saturday.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And that's a small town. Now, granted, they are putting on a big thing with multiple astronauts, and they want a couple thousand people. But if crowds are not your thing, you might want to stay away from the big museums
and the big dates. Yes.
Yes.
And go afterwards and stuff like that. Yes. All right. Well, let's. What do we want to do to carry us over to the half-hour point here? Let's see. What do we want to do? Let's hit some more NASA stuff. Coming up also on the 20th. Of course, NASA. Go to NASA TV on the 20th, and all kinds of stuff's going to be happening. But there's also going to be, well, not at NASA, but the Expedition 60 astronauts will be launching to the space station. Of course, that'll be coming out of Russia.
Cool.
That should be broadcast on, again, NASA TV Saturday at about 12:30 in the afternoon. So tune in a little bit early. And of course, all kinds of stuff on NASA TV, all over Saturday and stuff like that. So check them out. Let's see. Capsules, rockets. SpaceX had a little issue with one of their rocket engine tests. Let me put that in. I think Black Project put it into chat. Let me re-put it into chat in case it's too far back for anybody to get. And I know it's kind of hard to describe, but they had a fire during the test fire. So basically the test engine stand got engulfed in flames. I could see what could possibly happen is, I don't know if this is true or not, just my opinion, that if you have a big, you don't light the engines up, but you hit the fuel button and the fuel starts pouring into the to the engines, and it doesn't light, and the safeties don't cut the fuel off. You can get a bunch of fuel underneath the thing, and then it finally catches on, and then you kind of got a little bit of a flame going all over the whole thing. Don't know that's what happened, but that's, I know, certainly one possibility of what could happen. Of course, there could be some leaks too. Something popped loose, but it looked like it survived okay. So check out that video. It's an interesting video. You can see that kind of flame up and then go out, and flame up and go out. So keep wishing SpaceX luck. It was a Starhopper test.
So this is completely different from the Crew Dragon issue from earlier this year that is still in the news because we are still taking the process of learning what happened.
Yep.
So different setback.
I don't know if they posted anything about what happened with that. So, all right. So that's that. Let's see. Take us to the bottom of the hour. One more article for that. The MRO from Mars has actually imaged the Mars Curiosity rover.
Nice.
On the ground. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We
were talking about our fabulous modern high-res observatories, and that is one of them.
Yep. Let me pop that into chat here. All right, there we go. And that kind of takes us to the bottom of the hour, so we'll do our little station identification. You are. listening to Space Pirate Radio here on Astronomy.fm. It is another Wednesday evening. This one is July the 17th, 2019, about 9:30 in the evening for those of us here in the eastern portion of North America. Universal time, we'll put it at 1:30 in the morning, Thursday morning, July the 18th, again, 2019. So we just did a half-hour live program, and we're still got another half-hour live program. And of course, we invite you to join our chat room. Come on over, be part of the crew. And so far, we have aboard me and you, Aqua for You, Black Projects, Doug from Northern Cross Observatory, Plaid Joan, Sister Plaid, and Glenn. Glad to have you all with us tonight. Appreciate you all being here. All right, so kind of bunch of different stuff to go through. Let's see where we want to jump to. A GIA article.
Mm-hmm.
They made a first direct measurement of the bar in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy.
Ooh, that's a big deal.
So let me pop this article into our chat room here. Read all about it in detail. So what's a bar in the middle of the... Well, I have been there. It's called Quarks. They serve a really mean Romulan ale. Okay. Bar in the middle of a galaxy. If you look at pictures of different types of galaxies, some of them are round. It's called elliptical galaxies. They're slightly round and stretched out. Some of them are blobby and don't have any real shape to them, but ones like our Milky Way galaxy are kind of pancake with the center of the galaxy kind of bulging up higher than the rest of the plane of the galaxy. And the spiral arms go around that center portion. And sometimes they're kind of loose and sparse. There's hardly any. Some of them have lots of spiral arms. And the center also is not always completely round, but sometimes the very centers are oval as viewed from above. That's called a barred spiral. And there's different degrees of them. Some of the bars are kind of barely detectable, but still considered a barred center. And some of them are very elongated in the middle. They've figured out that there is a bar-shaped center to our Milky Way galaxy, and they've had other ways of detecting it being there. I think some stars were measured, and they could tell some stars are coming towards us, and some stars are coming away from us, and then kind of got some ideas about it actually being there. Well, actually, they found a way of actually directly detecting the barred center of our Milky Way galaxy using the GIA mission from European Space Agency and some ground-based telescopes and other space-based telescopes too. Basically, it was GIA has looked at a lot of stars in the galaxy, like 150 million stars in the galaxy. It uses spectroscopy, photometry, basically detecting the brightness of the stars, detecting the type by looking at the star spectra, and also accurately measuring the positions of the stars. So by combining all that data together, they were actually able to detect that part of the densest stars are on one side of the center of the galaxy are away from us, away from the center, and some of the stars on the other side of the core of the galaxy are towards us, indicating that this confirms and basically kind of directly measures the bar-shaped center of our Milky Way galaxy. So the article's in our chat room, and it came from, well, it's kind of all over the place. I've got this one from Science Daily, but there's several of them scattered around the internet. So if you want to see what our galaxy, a more accurate picture of what our galaxy looks like now, go to that one. I remember decades ago when the shape of our galaxy looked like some of the first charts of North America from the early 1500s.
What?
When the ships that sailed to North America, basically the charts, all they were able to make up was basically kind of the coastline and a few rivers indented into from the coastline into the interior a little bit. Those pretty crude charts of North America in the early 1500s, and the earliest, like from the 60s, 70s, the earliest maps of our own Milky Way galaxy were at about that primitive level. They kind of detected some spiral arms, but hardly any detail compared to what you see today. So,
I remember when we lived in a plain old regular spiral galaxy with no bar, and we lived in the Orion arm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely no bar back then, and they could barely detect some of the spiral arms directly of our Milky Way galaxy, and very, very crudely.
They counted them differently, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've come a long way, stuff like that.
Yep. Oh, we also thought at the time that we were about half the mass of the Andromeda galaxy.
Mm-hmm. And the distance to the Andromeda galaxy has been adjusted slightly too. Well, when it first discovered, I think they only thought it was like 500 million miles away or something like that. Much farther away, 2 million miles away, stuff like that. All right, well, you got something for us?
Yeah. So in addition to being totally immersed in Apollo 11 stuff this week, there are other things going on in the world.
Okay.
So, we talked a bit about SpaceX. So here is the latest word on the Crew Dragon, because the Crew Dragon is, of course, one of the things that is rather important if we want to have astronauts launched from places other than the Baikonur Cosmodrome.
Mm-hmm.
So a faulty valve has been stated as the reason that the Crew Dragon exploded.
Okay.
So that's as far as we got now. It's a faulty valve. It allowed leaking fuel to come into contact with titanium. And you think, well, titanium's strong, right? It's like, well, no, just like steel can burn in pure oxygen. You've got liquid fuel, bad things can happen to titanium. So thankfully, the remedy will not require a major overhaul of the concept of the vehicle, but they will need to eliminate the flow path that takes the liquid propellant to the gaseous pressurization system. So they got some tinkering to make with the design, but they don't have to do a complete overhaul.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
JAXA recently had a second successful touchdown of their asteroid explorer Hayabusa 2 on the asteroid Ryugu.
Nice.
And that's about all they've done. They included a touchdown and the discharge of a projectile for sampling. That was also successfully done too. Who else? Oh, India.
Yes, we have a less happy news from India regarding the Chandrayaan-2 probe.
But not bad, but just not great.
Bad, just not great. Well, of course, it was supposed to launch, and it's been delayed. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we do not have a new scheduled date, so we will have to wait for Chandrayaan-2 to take off. So yep. I'm a little disappointed. But if they're taking it safe, what can you do?
That was a lander, I think, lunar lander, is it, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep, it would have been the fifth entity's attempt to do a lunar lander. Of course, earlier this year we had the privately funded Israeli probe, Bereshit, which unfortunately did make it to the moon, but not intact.
Exactly.
The soft landing didn't go so well. So Chandrayaan was going to be the next attempt at getting a lander.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So keep your fingers crossed.
Yes. It's good to hear more and more countries are doing more stuff like this.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. So there'll be lots of stuff. There eventually will be probably a satellite constellation around the moon, which would be really good for human landing again, though. So that'd be, and then they're also talking about a space station in lunar orbit, which can be kind of good too. So if they could have some, peopled mission to the surface of the moon and still be able to get maybe just into lunar orbit if there's an emergency into the space station. That'll be a big boost. And then from there back to the Earth. So it'll happen. Meteor showers this month. Tons of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meteor showers this month. Some of them are past now. So I'll try to go with the ones that are still upcoming and not in necessarily the proper order. July 21st, 49 Andromedids are expected to peak. July 22nd, the Psi Cassiopeids are expected to peak. Let's see. And then July 27th, the Alpha Capricornids are expected to peak.
Now, none of these are exactly marquee meteor showers.
No. They're just, technically they are meteor showers with only rates of like maybe less than or greater than 1 meteor per hour. Well, detectable, but so they're detected as coming from a certain constellation, but not actually something that's really worth going out and trying to look for. But just to give you an idea, there was one on July the 3rd, July the 6th, July the 15th, July the 11th, July the 5th, and July the 9th, and July the 13th.
So if you're in a dark sky side and the moon is favorable, which right now it's pretty big, you might be able to catch some interesting meteors from these minor showers. If not, you'll just have to hang on and wait until the Perseids come around in August.
Coming up, yes.
Coming up.
About 11 days or so into the month of August, the Perseids. So get ready for those. Don't know where the moon's at, but try to find a nice observing site. So we're giving you about a month's warning.
Yeah.
There's still time to get ready for the Perseids. So might want to plan a trip just for that, or cancel some other activity that will take you away from that. Or the best way is to have a good weather Perseid place to go to, and then a bad weather Perseid place to go to. So you'll always have something. Even so, if you miss it, you'll still have something fun to do, whatever it is.
Indeed.
Yes. Let's see. Occultations of the moon over semi-bright stars, 4th magnitude-ish stars coming up. The moon is heading through Scorpius and then into Capricornus. Sagittarius and Capricornus. So Gamma Capricorn will be covered by the moon July the 19th. These are all southern stuff too. South America. Also, then kind of a little bit after that, I think it's Delta Capricorn. Again, South America. So a couple of them right away, and then nothing till the 27th when the moon gets into Taurus. Covers those again. We'll see pretty far south. There was lunar eclipse yesterday.
Yes, there was, because of course we had the total solar eclipse 2 weeks before, and those pair up. So how'd that lunar eclipse go?
Wasn't visible in North America.
Right.
So pretty much the rest of the world had it. It was a partial lunar eclipse. I think 65% covered by the umbra. That's the dark part. So it was like a real partial lunar eclipse, not like a penumbra eclipse, which you
can barely
tell.
see. Yeah,
or if at all. So the pictures I've seen look pretty good. The UK had some pretty clear skies. There were some in I've seen pictures from Australia that did pretty good, even though it was like some of them were like setting as the eclipse was happening. Some were rising as the eclipse was happening. So it was a nice lunar eclipse, but not a chance for any of us in the U.S. to be able to see this one. We were just completely not even close.
Oh, well, we've had some good ones.
Yeah, we have. We'll get some good ones again, but nothing for us to see, folks, so just keep moving on. All right. Oh, black hole story. Here we go. Here's an image. Let me put this article in. This is actually pretty cool for us astronomy people. Do our chat room. Here we go. A couple of black holes, galactic black holes, supermassive black holes that are going to merge.
That was the link to the galactic bar again, so...
Is it really?
Yeah. Give us the real one.
All right, let me go find that one. Let me go back home. Click on the article. Okay, let's try it again. Click on it. Got the article. Here we go. Copy and paste. And before I hit, there it goes. Okay, there you go. All right, check this one out. Galaxy 2.5 billion light years away from us. We're actually able to image using, I think it's the VLA. VLA or VLT. What was that? It was something like this. Some very large telescopy thing. They're actually able to detect two lumps in the middle of this galaxy, determining that they are supermassive black holes. So obviously two galaxies have merged. And these two black holes are pretty close to each other, so that eventually they're going to spiral in and collide, and this should create a pretty good set of gravitational waves coming from this pair. I think most of the other gravitational waves they had were from smaller black holes and neutron stars and stuff like that, but these are going to be some kind of big ones. I don't know if the article says how long they think it's going to take them to go in, but it's actually pretty cool seeing two black holes in a core of a galaxy close to each other. So they can basically measure the motions of the stars around them. But they can't see the black holes, but they know they've got concentrations of stars around them, which accounts
because it was actually seen with the Hubble Space Telescope, which is a straight-up optical telescope. So Hubble was able to detect the bright clumps of stars and gas around them.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And the galaxy's core is shooting out not one plume of gas, but two.
Mm.
So, of course, M87, the galaxy that harbors the supermassive black hole that was imaged directly earlier the image was released earlier this year. That's got this incredible plume shooting out of its core. Well, this galaxy's got two of them.
Mm-hmm. Something I'm still trying to figure out is called black hole beaming, which is light. The light that's basically going around the black hole gets dimmed when it's going away from us, and it gets bright when it's coming towards us. So I haven't been able to quite find a good explanation of how that works. I could see a Doppler shift, but it's not a Doppler shift. It's actually a magnitude shift in the light.
Okay.
So I haven't figured out why that works yet. But yeah, there's been several articles on black holes and stuff going around them. A lot of articles recently about the stuff going around black holes and how they're all a little bit different. So some black holes have got lots of stuff going around them, and the stuff is actually going into the black holes. And when it goes in, just before it goes in, it heats up and gives off X-rays and gamma rays and stuff like that. Some of the material is maybe a lot of material around the black hole, but not going in. Some of the stuff is kind of thin around the black hole. Maybe some going in, some not going in. And they've also been able to detect that the black holes are spinning, and that affects the material going around them also. So different characteristics of black holes in the center of galaxies, and they're kind of getting some surprises too of what's actually happening. There's one recently. Oh, the shape of the material too is affected by how much material is going around. They were originally thinking that when not much material is going around the black hole, the material kind of swells up. It's more like a donut, a torus going around the black hole. Well, they recently found one where the gas was stretched out into a thin plane, and that usually only happens when a lot of material is circling around the black hole. Well, they found one galaxy where the material is thinned out in a thin plane, and it's not much stuff going around it. So that kind of changed the rules a little bit. They're actually looking at a black hole. They thought, okay, we got these ideas about when lots of material goes around the black hole and goes into it. So let's find one with hardly any stuff, and we'll kind of use that as our gauge compared to the other ones. And they got kind of flip-flopped on what they were expecting. They were expecting it to be a different shape, the typical shape of like a donut torus when there's not much material there. They got the thin disk one. So, more stuff. Rules. Nature doesn't always obey the rules, does it?
Sometimes we don't know the rules.
That's true too. Yes. Let's see. 10 minutes. You got something for us? What do you want to talk about?
I could talk about Apollo 11 all night long.
You want to do some more? Did you get to hear our the interview you missed last?
No, I didn't.
Wednesday?
I'm glad you guys got to do that while I was away, but I'm sorry I missed it.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully you'll be able to hear it. What you call? Just throwing this out there. But did anybody record that interview? No, I don't think it would have mattered. Sorry, we lost a little bit of the interview. We had a glitch in our system. So we lost a couple minutes of the interview. It's like everybody in the audience didn't hear it either. It was fine by me and the person I was interviewing, Nancy Atkinson, author of the book, like, is it 8 years to Apollo 11 or something like that? Sorry, I'm always bad at remembering book titles and stuff like that. Well, anyways, we could hear each other, so we knew it was the interview was going good that way, but something happened on the broadcast part where we lost a few minutes of that interview. Sorry, folks. So next time something like that, we'll make sure there's a little bit of redundancy in our recordings so that multiple people will be recording if it's an interview, something like that, in case there is such a glitch like that. So sorry, folks.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but you can always read the book too, though.
Yeah, well, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've heard of Ice Cube, right, Marty?
Heard of what?
Ice Cube, and no, I don't mean the rapper.
Iced tea, the drink?
Ice Cube. It's the neutrino detector down in Antarctica.
Ice Cube. No, I have not.
Okay, Ice Cube is getting an upgrade. Ice Cube is getting a $23 million upgrade, adding new 700 new optical modules to hunt neutrinos. So if you are interested in the cutting edge physics part of astronomy and cosmology, that's some good news.
Interesting. I've got an article here measuring the universe's expansion rate using a different type of object that they're observing. Let me put this into our chat room here. Usually the expansion rate, in order to determine distances to galaxies, the ones closest to the Milky Way, they use variable stars.
Right.
Specific variable stars. And then beyond that, they use supernova.
Right.
Of a certain type, which has basically always the same brightness when you analyze the chemistry of the star that went supernova and stuff like that. So that kind of give us a pretty good idea of how fast, or how far away the galaxies are. And then using spectra for the whole galaxy can determine how fast the galaxy is moving away from us by analyzing the spectral shift of the light of the whole thing.
Though, as we have learned over the century, really, since we started using those variable stars as our yardstick, it's a little more complicated than that. So the stars aren't quite as consistent as we thought, and the supernovae may actually be of different types, and so they're good, but they're not perfect.
Mm-hmm. So this one is observing giant red stars by the Hubble Space Telescope. So the article's in our chat room. It's a new way of measuring how fast the universe is expanding. So a different method, and I'm sure they've got slightly different results from all the other surveys too. So we'll see if we get some studies to agree with each other eventually.
That's
and figure out really how fast the universe is expanding.
Yeah, that would be a breakthrough because, as I said, the Cepheid variable method has its imperfections, and we are learning more and more about the imperfections in the supernova.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they're not 100%.
Right. This is finding some variables on things that we're using as standard candles. That seems to happen a lot. Using something as a standard candle, and then have it not so standard after all.
Well, yeah, it's like we used to use. I think it was Polaris was a star that was used to sort of as a yardstick for the magnitude of other stars because we thought that it was not variable.
Right.
It's variable. I mean, it's you can't win.
That's happened with a lot of variable stars. There's a whole organization, American Association of Variable Star Observers. They've got projects where you can actually measure the variability of certain stars, and basically by comparing it to a star in the same field right next to it, and then you kind of get an idea of, is the star brighter, is the star dimmer, is it exactly the same as the star? So it gives you an idea of judging the brightness of the variable star. Well, it turns out some of their stars next to the variable star turned out to be variable.
Yeah. Well, with a long period variable, it's tricky. It's like the hypothesis, which I see no reason to discard on the face of it, that our sun is a long period variable that we just haven't figured out the said period, much less what it does. I mean, it's entirely possible.
Yep. So, early evening, in fact, like right about now is a good time if you want to go out and do some actual observing that we sometimes talk about here. Everybody likes to get out and do some real observing sometime. The hot region right now is from the northern hemisphere is towards the south, the Scorpius Sagittarius region, which has Jupiter and Saturn.
Yeah, they're looking nice.
Two quite prominent planets. The moon was right by both of them. I think on the 13th it was by Jupiter, and then right next to Saturn on the 15th. So we're past that.
Jupiter and the moon looked gorgeous together last Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. So and the moon's still there. Basically, you've got Jupiter, Saturn, and then the moon. Basically kind of in a line, and if to the southwest of Jupiter, we've got the huge star Antares, definitely dimmer than Jupiter, but Saturn's really not as bright as Jupiter too. If you notice that, look at how much dimmer Saturn is. It's almost kind of hard to spot Saturn, unless you know that it's about 10 plus degrees to the east of Jupiter. So nice region. Plus, then for deep sky observing, there's all kinds of stuff through that Scorpius Sagittarius region, gas clouds and star clusters and things like that. So this is the time. It's early in the evening when you want to get out there and observe that part of the sky. And it's a little bit tough in the northern hemisphere observers. You got to have your major cities to your north of your observing site, because you want that southern horizon to be nice and clear down the horizon as best you can. The moon is like 1 day past full. Let's see, it's still at like 98% lit up. So we knew it was full yesterday for sure, because that's why we had a lunar eclipse. Nothing in the early evening right now. It's going to be another month before our Mercury starts coming back around. And then, let's see, what do we got? Next thing up is the planet Uranus rising at about 1 o'clock in the morning. So a little later when you get to see Uranus once again. So get out there and do some observing.
All right. Well, I think that winds things down for this week, Marty.
I think so too. Time for us to head on out. Really appreciate everybody listening in tonight, and of course everybody that's been in our chat room tonight contributing to our show. Thank everybody. We will be back next Wednesday. And we should have our regular programming coming up tonight, starting with Astronomy Ireland, Planetary Radio, Naked Astronomers, all coming up after Space Pirate Radio. Good night, everybody.
Clear skies, y'all.
We hope that you've enjoyed this program from AFM Radio, the broadcast service of Astronomy.fm. This program has been released under Creative Commons license. Please contact us for details. You may find more of our AFM original programs on our website. It's really easy to find us. We are Astronomy.fm. You may also find us in the iTunes radio listings near the top of the News Talk section, and also as an iTunes podcast selection. We'd love to hear your comments. Please email us at radio@astronomy.fm. Thanks so much for being part of the voice of astronomy around the world and across the known universe. This is Astronomy.fm Radio.
AFM.